Right, all you music makers, video game players, and entertainers from all around the world, welcome to the 563rd edition of Music Village. I am your host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, bringing you the best from the North, South, East, and West that the world of music, games, and wrestling has to offer. And seeing the fact that we've landed on the luckiest Friday of the whole year, aka Good Friday, and we got some good things coming your way for it, we might as well waste no time and explain to you guys what's gonna happen on this very special Good Friday edition of Music Village. Because we kick things off with what we think is going to happen on one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year for the WWE, none other than WrestleMania from Viva Las Vegas. And if you couldn't tell, I'm excited about that. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out some video games from a planet far away from here and from the Steam Machine alike for another edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. And speaking of green, or apparently according to Carl and the Maestro, this case, crypto, we go into a very special discotheque Technicolor Heist Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And yeah, just as a heads up, and King, if you're listening out there in advance, I'm sorry. I apologize. My bad. Also, besides that, we go ahead and check out what you independent artists got planned for this weekend for another edition of the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local content information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. Then finally, last but not least, and hopefully before we have to go get ready for an Easter egg hunt, we wrap up the show yet another edition of the Up to Speed News, which is me giving you guys news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. And I guess with that said, I might as well tell Carl and the Maestro to kick up the beats, crank out the tunes, and most importantly, take off that rabbit outfit. It's not time to get ready for Easter just yet, because it's time for us to bring some fun and delight on this Good Friday afternoon/night, only here, right here on Music Village. So let's get this Good Friday show started, folks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I guess a couple of you currently fighting through traffic this afternoon, welcome back to Music Village. Now, before we go any further, I keep forgetting for certain people out there, if it's evening or morning or whichever time zone you're in, with the current traffic conditions, it was actually good for us. And proves to me that this is possibly one of the luckiest days of the year for us, because the fact that we didn't run into any traffic getting here to Music Village headquarters this week tells you that luck is most likely on our side. We hope. But besides that bit of luck we were able to get, folks, I think it's time for us to go ahead and break down one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. And yes, we're gonna call it a pay-per-view, call it a Maestro, because it's none other than what we think is gonna happen at the Showcase of the Immortals, the grandest stage of them all, but better known to most as WrestleMania 41 from Viva Las Vegas. Now, I would have worn an Elvis outfit, but no, all that glitter and rhinestone, Carl and the Maestro would have showed up, or more or less Dan the Weatherman Stu, and interrupted that immediately. Oh, and before we go any further into that, we do have some factoids for this along the way that we are going to include, because not only this would mark the 24th WrestleMania we would be able to mention or watch ever a part of our lives, but also the 23rd WrestleMania we would be able to review here a part of Music Village Radio. And trust me, by next year we will get that 24 for Under the Radar, but I digress, because this would be the third longest WrestleMania 2-night card ever in history, and will tie for second if Randy Orton gets a match. And would be one of the latest WrestleManias in the history of the Showcase of the Immortals. And with all those factoids we have for now out of the way, folks, the first match we think is going to kick off the card for this week or this year's WrestleMania would see none other than the War Raiders of Eric and Ivar going one-on-one against Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods of the New Day for the World Tag Team Championships. Now, the only reason this match is going down is because the New Day, who decided to turn a new leaf after their 10-year celebration kicking Big E to the curb, would complain and whine and grovel and all this other stuff to try to get a shot at the tag team championships they believe that they've deserved and demanded to have. And would go to as far as to try to take out Ivar and Eric by hitting them with steel chairs and trying to take out their surgically repaired necks, leaving Eric and Ivar to declare war on the New Day. And with that being said, folks, who do I think is going to win this match? Well, as much as I believe that the War Raiders is somehow going to go home with the gold and still your tag team champions, I got a feeling the New Day is going to use some form of underhanded tactic that is going to get them the gold at WrestleMania. And for some strange reason in the back of my mind, I got a feeling that Big E is somehow going to get involved during this match too. Who knows? Who knows? The next match to take place on this grand stage of WrestleMania would see none other than the International Man of Mystery, Rey Mysterio, going one-on-one against El Grande Americano. And the only reason this match is going down, folks, is because of the fact of Chad Gable going to Mexico on a sabbatical, trying to figure out a way to solve his luchador problem, would go down a back alley, pay $500, and a week later would show up in the luchador mask, taking out the LWO and embarrassing Lucha Libre then for after. And would even take off the mask of Dragon Lee during that match, which would piss off Rey Mysterio, and not to mention using a loaded mask to beat them just this past week. And with that all being said, folks, and with Rey Mysterio's 13th WrestleMania in his career upon us, who do I think is going to win this match? Well, with this being an unlucky 13, and unless El Grande Americano gets unmatched during this match, I got a feeling El Grande Americano is going to win this. As much as I hate to say it, I got a feeling that he's going to do something underhanded and Rey Mysterio is going to lose this match at WrestleMania, which sucks. It really does. And the next match to take place a part of Night 1 is going to see none other than Jade Cargill going one-on-one against Naomi. And the only reason this match is going down, folks, is because of the fact of, well, a jealous friend and, of course, a person who was apparently riding on the coattails of another woman. Now, what do I mean by that, folks? Well, because Jade, who was a tag team champion with Bianca Belair at the time, and Naomi, who felt like she was riding the coattails of Jade, would try to take her out in the parking lot, leading into a 4-month-long, maybe longer, investigation trying to figure out who in the world took her out. Only for Jade to return at the Elimination Chamber and eliminate Naomi in the most disgusting way known possible, getting a revenge. And with Naomi being exiled by her friends and using her own judgment to take people out to make sure they don't get in her way or anybody else's, who do I think is gonna win this match? Well, seeing the fact that Jade is undefeated at WrestleMania and Naomi has been to the dance before, I got a feeling I'm gonna have to give it to Jade. Even though I got a feeling if Naomi's able to weather the storm, no pun intended, of the rage of Jade during this match, I still think Jade's gonna win. But with this new attitude of Naomi, Carl and the Maestro's leading toward Naomi for this match, but at the same time, I'm still going with Jade. And the next match to take place on the first night of WrestleMania would see none other than LA Knight going one-on-one against the Samoan werewolf, Jacob Fatu, for the United States Championship. And the only reason this match is going down is because, well, Jacob Fatu would defeat the quilted, quicker picker-upper Braun Strowman in a last man standing match, if you can call those two men, for him to earn his way to try to get the United States Championship, and I think having none other than Solo on his side for that match as well too. Who knows? Who knows? And with that being said, and with a possible bloodline interference to take place during this match, and the fact that LA Knight has already lost his United States Championship at Survivor Series under some controversial and chicanery-like things, who do I think is going to win this match? Well, I got a feeling this might be the night of the werewolf, and Jacob Fatu may go home your new United States champion. That's if LA Knight doesn't have to deal with at least 84 Samoans interfering in this match. Yeah, I know Carl and I show it's not 84 Samoans in the company, but at the same time, I do believe some form of interference will happen during this match. The next match to take place at WrestleMania's grand stage would see none other than Tiffany Stratton going one-on-one against the queen herself, Charlotte Flair, for the Women's Undisputed Championship. And if you're wondering why in the world I call it that, it's on the belt. It's on the belt. It says it on the belt, man. It says it on the belt. But outside of that freak-out moment according to Carl and the Maestro, the only reason this match is happening on the grand stage of WrestleMania is because Charlotte was able to outlast 29 other women and win a chance to fight for the championship in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, cue the record scratch for that, because this match is not in the main event. And why? Because, well, I don't know. But either way you look at it, I think from this point forward, when it comes to the Royal Rumble, just say you have a chance to wrestle at WrestleMania, not be in the main event. Because I'm pretty sure this would be the first time ever that both Royal Rumble winners will not be in the main event of WrestleMania. Unheard of. Unheard of. But outside of Charlotte winning the said Royal Rumble and called her shot like Babe Ruth and told Tiffany Stratton she's just a knockoff version of her, Tiffany would try to prove her point otherwise by taking it to Charlotte in the ring and on the mic and saying some very controversial things that led Charlotte to beat her up in not only the parking lot, but outside of the ring as well too, on the announce table, causing Wade Barrett to get involved to try to save her job. Now, with that all being said, who do I think is going to win this match? Well, if we don't want to go down the predictable Charlotte Flair wins LOL path, I got a feeling Tiffany Stratton's going to go home and still your women's world champion or undisputed champion in this match and surprise the fans in Vegas. Because if Charlotte Flair wins, I got a feeling the Vegas odds is going to be heavy in her favor. So we already know what path that's going to lead to. And chances are a rematch for Tiffany Stratton, most likely by Backlash. Who knows? And the next match to take place on WrestleMania Night 1, and this one shocked the hell out of me the second I saw it, Gunther going one-on-one against Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. So both Royal Rumble winners are on night one? I don't know where even to begin with that, but hey, congratulations. But the only reason this match is taking place, folks, at WrestleMania is because Jey Uso, against all odds and against a star-studded Rumble with the final numbers being jam-packed with former World Heavyweight Champions aplenty, would be the last man standing out of the Royal Rumble match and would yeet his way on Monday Night Raw, pissing off Gunther, and Gunther beating the daylights out of him, telling him not to challenge, and at the same time telling him it's going to be week after week of hell for him if he does decide to call him out at WrestleMania, leading to the most violent display of violence that is ever seen in this company, which is going to be a bit of a stretch if you don't count the whole barbed wire incident with Edge and Mick Foley at WrestleMania 22, but I digress. And Jey, who decided to get serious after his brother got taken out almost Mortal Kombat style, would decide to get in the head of Gunther, and Gunther being shook at this point, as some would say. Who do I think is going to win this match? With all that being said, well, I got a feeling with well over 11 years removed after a Yes Movement circulated this company, a modern day version of it could possibly happen in Vegas in the form of a Yeet movement. Now, I would never in my wildest years hear myself say that as a thing for wrestling or ever, but I got a big feeling that we're going to see Jey Uso walk home with the World Heavyweight Championship, shocking Gunther once again on the grand stage and yeeting it out with 60,000 people in attendance. Yeah, that's exactly what I think that could happen. Now, if Gunther somehow screws his head back on right, I got a feeling Gunther may go home with the gold and disappoint the fans. Now, my answer may change depending on if he wins tonight or if the American Nightmare can pull it off later on that night. And speaking of the American Nightmare, folks, and before we get to that, the last match we have up in the main event for night one would see none other than Roman Reigns going one-on-one against CM Punk and Seth Rollins in a triple threat match. Now, this would be the first time in WrestleMania history that a main event would feature a non-title match, which is nuts. And alongside with that, another thing that is very shocking about this, folks, is the fact that this match here would be the first main event for not only CM Punk, but also Seth Rollins. And the only reason this match is happening on the grand stage of WrestleMania is because Seth Rollins, who believed that CM Punk is going to eventually try to destroy this company, would try to destroy him alongside with Roman Reigns. But unfortunately would not finish the job, causing Roman Reigns to come back during a steel cage match, pulling him out of the cage, tying it up with Punk in a one-on-one after their bit of a rivalry that grew, if we're going in the form of up, up, down, down for my GM mode. And then afterwards would see CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins all putting at the WrestleMania sign, and with Paul Heyman making this a main event match at WrestleMania, and for CM Punk's dream to come true, and technically Seth Rollins, and with a whole bunch of combustible elements that will happen during this match, who do I think is gonna win? Now, there is two of my favorite wrestlers featured during this match. I am definitely going to show favoritism toward the two, CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Even though Seth Rollins now is going on a little bit of a Monday Night Messiah trip, according to Colin, my show, and yeah, he is. And with the fact that everybody is fighting amongst each other, but Roman Reigns is just there, as much as I don't want to give it to the man who calls himself a tribal chief, I'm going to have to say Roman Reigns might win this match. Now, the reason why is because of the sheer hatred between the two of CM Punk and Seth Rollins. But then again, this hate triangle is very strong, and I got a feeling with Roman Reigns' experience in past triple threat matches on the grand stage, he might stack them, smash them, and go home with $1 million pyrotechnics like he did well over, I do believe that was, 16 years ago at WrestleMania 35? Apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro, 6 years ago. Yeah, I added the 1 by accident. And with that first night out of the way, folks, we now head on over to night 2. And the first match we believe that will kick off the night would see none other than Io Sky going one-on-one against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. Now, the only reason this match is going down is because Bianca Belair, who won the Elimination Chamber match, won the right to fight against the Women's World Champion, which at the time was Rhea Ripley. But unfortunately for Rhea Ripley, with Bianca Belair out there, for what reason, I don't know, during a championship match with Io Sky, would get in the head of Rhea Ripley for Rhea to call her shot at an avalanche riptide that would be an avalanche for her WrestleMania dreams, causing her to get hit with an over-the-moonsault, lose her championship, try to fight her way back into the match, even would go as far as what we would see Shawn Michaels do against the match with Triple H and Chris Benoit, and was signed the contract, which apparently, according to Adam Pearce, was an illegal document, only to lead to a said special guest referee match that went sideways, twisting Adam Pearce's arm to the point where he had to say, you know what, now I'm gonna make it a triple threat match. And with that being said, and with both challengers completely ignoring the new champion, who is a champion for not even 3 weeks, who do I think is going to win this match? Well, if they keep ignoring Io Sky, I got a feeling the genius of the Sky, who was riding a blimp earlier this week, is going to be riding on Cloud 9, still your Women's World Champion. So, yeah, if they don't get it together, they're both going to lose. And with Bianca Belair being undefeated at WrestleMania, that's going to be a tough loss for her to swallow, too. And the next match to take place at WrestleMania would see none other than Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez going one-on-one against the Women's Intercontinental Champion Lyra Valkyria and the lovable hugger herself, Bayley, for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, the only reason this match is going down, folks, is because of a good old-fashioned gauntlet match that would take place on SmackDown. I hate to laugh about it, but the fact that this match came from out of left field due to the fact that they would win a gauntlet match over some of the top teams of the company, who do I think is going to end up winning this match? Well, if Bayley and Lyra Valkyria can keep that same synergy that they had this past week on Monday Night Raw, I got a feeling they can upset the champions and somehow make it out with the Women's Tag Team Championships. That is, of course, if Dominic Mysterio does not come out during their said match. And speaking of Dominic Mysterio, let's get to that match next, shall we? Because the next match we got up on the card, folks, would see none other than Braun Breaker going one-on-one against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio in a fatal four-way match for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, the only reason this match is going down is because Adam Pearce decided to settle the problems with not only Finn Balor taking out Braun Breaker, Dominic Mysterio getting involved, and even Penta, and making it a fatal four-way match. Enough said? Now, before we go into who I think is going to win this match, this would be one of the largest matches they would have for the Intercontinental Championship in several years, since those Intercontinental Championship ladder matches they would have back in the earlier 30s of the WrestleMania variety. Now, with that being said, and with Finn Balor already in this position before, fighting for the Intercontinental Championship in multi-man rules, and at one point went one-on-one against the almighty himself, Bobby Lashley, at at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. Who do I think is going to win this match? Well, I got a feeling, and even though my friend Juju would say that Penta might go home with the gold, I got a feeling Braun Breaker, with prior experience in multi-man matches for the Intercontinental Championship, may go home with the gold. Yeah, I think Braun Breaker is going to retain the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, and chances are lead to a bit of a communication breakdown between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio during this match. Even though they say it doesn't matter who wins as long as one of the Judgment Day members win, Finn Balor held the grudge against Damian Priest for a full year after he got screwed out of the said world title against Seth. So, how long of a grudge you think he's gonna hold against Dominic after this little incident goes down? Not long. The man's got a short fuse. And the next match that we have up, folks, would see none other than the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, going one-on-one against Logan Paul. And the only reason this match is going down, folks, is because of the manipulation of the universal arbitrator of suffering himself, Karrion Kross, who would get in the head of AJ Styles and tell him, somebody like you who fought all around the world to get all the accolades that you deserved, only for someone like Logan Paul to come in fresh off of YouTube and somehow get everything and more that you should have gotten when you were out in New Japan and all these other places. For AJ Styles to puppet dance his way toward Logan Paul, take him out, but at the same time get embarrassed not once but twice by Logan Paul. And with that being said, folks, who do I think is going to win this match? Now, this is another one of those matches where I have a lot of bias in. First off, AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. And the fact that Logan Paul is going to be fighting against AJ Styles, I would have never in my wildest dreams in a WrestleMania bingo card would ever have predicted it would have been AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. Originally, I thought it was going to be AJ versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship, but hey, I've been wrong before, I can be wrong again. But at the same time, back to who I think is gonna win. I'm giving it to AJ Styles. I don't even care. You know, I know Logan Paul is somehow gonna cheat. I know Logan Paul's gonna do some high-flying, incredible moves during this match. And I know whatever he does is gonna go viral on whatever sort of interweb site that he usually streams on or, you know, gets people to watch on. But I really do think the phenomenal one is going to be phenomenal during this match and take out Logan Paul. Or, you know, hey, prove Kross right that after all this time, maybe we should have all been YouTubers. That might have been the only way to wrestling success. And the next match to take place on this said card of WrestleMania for Night 2 would see none other than Damian Priest going one-on-one against the Scottish Terminator himself, Drew McIntyre, in a Sin City street fight. Oh boy, that's gonna be ugly, and the only reason this match is going down, folks, you might as well rewind back to WrestleMania 40. Drew McIntyre celebrating a little bit too long like most kids would playing Call of Duty when they try to execute somebody, and would end up getting executed himself and shooting himself in the foot, causing CM Punk to attack him, Damian Priest taking advantage, and Drew McIntyre losing the championship after holding on to it for not even a cup of coffee or a Hot Pocket being put in your said microwave. And then as he would try to get the title back, CM Punk would screw him there. Then as time would move on and you think Drew McIntyre would learn his lesson, nope, he would continue to be his own worst enemy directly into the Elimination Chamber match and his possible last chance to fight for a title at the grand stage of WrestleMania, and would get rolled up by Damian Priest for Drew McIntyre to try to take him out in the parking lot, for Damian Priest to get him back by choke slamming him through a car, and then for Drew McIntyre to hit him with a pair of stairs and even hit him with a future shock on some. And with all this back and forth violence between the two, who do I think is going to win this match? Damian Priest. I even hesitate to say it was going to be Drew McIntyre to win this match. I think Drew McIntyre is going to once again be his own worst enemy and cost himself a big WrestleMania win and his third non-title single match to take place at WrestleMania. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. The first one against Roman Reigns, the second one against Happy Corbin, and now against Damian Priest. Yeah, hopefully Drew wins, but he has the track record of being his own worst enemy. So once again, Damian Priest to win it. And the next match and the main event of WrestleMania is gonna be none other than Cody Rhodes going one-on-one against John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. Now, the only reason this match is happening is because John Cena, who called this shot to be in the Elimination Chamber match, would then win said Elimination Chamber match thanks to Seth Rollins, and would then decide to, after Cody Rhodes would tell The Rock to go F himself, would decide to sell his soul to try to get another championship to beat Ric Flair's record, quote unquote, because the man held 24 championships, not 16. I'll say it till the day this microphone wears out. He is a 24-time world champion, not a 16-time world champion. I'm gonna bore that into people's heads until the day that we wear this mic out. I'll tell you that much. But John Cena on a mission to ruin pro wrestling and to take away the joy of the wrestling fans by taking the championship away from Cody Rhodes, and for Cody Rhodes to get his revenge with a crossroads to John Cena on one episode of Monday Night Raw. And I got a feeling with a lot of chicanery that will happen during this match, since Cody Rhodes in it and the final boss, quote unquote, for The Rock on that one, is gonna somehow be watching in the stands. Yeah, who do I think is going to win this match? I hate to say it. I really, really hate to say it. But I got a feeling that John Cena is going to somehow win this match. Now, this all depends on if Gunther retains at WrestleMania. And yeah, according to Carl and the Maestro, they agree. Because if Gunther retains, there's a high possibility that Cody Rhodes may retain his championship at WrestleMania, but if Jay wins, it might go in the opposite direction to send the fans home happy. Either way you look at it, folks, I got a feeling that that match is going to possibly be one of the craziest matches that take place in the main event of WrestleMania since last year's WrestleMania match that was under Bloodline rules. But who knows? Anything could happen in the WWE, folks. They say it all the time. So to all of the superstars that are going to be participating on one of the biggest nights in wrestling history, we say this: good luck, don't get hurt, and put on one hell of a show that none of us will ever, and I do mean ever, forget, because it's WrestleMania. And yeah, we had a chance to check out the stage too. That was immaculate, and we'll go into more detail about it in the future. But until then, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with more Music Village than you can shake a stick at right after this. So don't wear your horns out in open traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And for those out there wondering, yes, we did see the WrestleMania stage at least 4 times during the commercial break, and it looks like a combination of 33, 39, and 22. with a little hint of the SummerSlam where Edge went against The Undertaker. So yeah, once again, a very immaculate stage. But besides admiring cool stages for WrestleMania, I think it's time for us to check out some games from a planet far away from here and from the Steam Machine alike for a Good Friday edition of the Friday Night Greenlight. And the first game that we have up comes from none other than, and apparently according to Call of the Maestro, Bip Pin Bits, with their set game of Sleep. Sleep. It really is called Sleep. And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess one of the Adult Swim games they had back in the day along the lines of Viva Caligula. You know, minus the craziness where you actually had to scream in a computer to gain more power, which was a real thing. I'm not kidding. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game, and apparently according to Call of the Maestro, it can help you go to sleep as you try to cut the sheep's, I guess, wool off. Here's hoping in the near future you get a pair of better scissors to get the job done. And according to Call of the Maestro, yeah, you can. You actually can buy better scissors with the gold you get from the said sheep you decide to shear. All right? But besides late night sheep shearing, folks, the next game that we have up comes from the itch.io page of Enter Yard with their set game of Barika. Barika? According to Call of the Maestro, we're good with the second one. All right? And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess, Motherload. Yeah, definitely reminds me of Motherload if it was a handheld game made by Tiger RC. Or, like we say around here, Tiger RC. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to upgrade the said drill just in case you run into some rough material, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to also upgrade the said hole as well too. And why? Cause I got a feeling, depending on how deep into the Earth's surface or wherever in the world you're digging is, yeah, I got a feeling the hole might actually breach and explode, or implode according to Call of the Maestro. So let's hope that doesn't happen. And the next game that we have up, besides a potential hole breach in a game just like it happened to me in Motherload, comes from the itch.io page of Pigeons with their set game of I Work as an Exorcist. This is gonna end well. Yeah, it really is. Now, this game automatically reminds me of a combination of just about every single exorcism movie you've seen in the past 20 to 30 years, with a little hint of Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game so you can avoid whatever sort of Markland beast that's gonna come after you. You not only have holy water on hand, maybe one of those tiny little crosses, and according to Call of the Maestro, one of those ghost traps. They're not the Ghostbusters, the Exorcists. The wrong category, man. Wrong category. But here's hoping that it's in there as an Easter egg when you don't run into one of those creatures, and they're giving me the thumbs up along with the PR department. All right? And the next game that we have up, that hopefully doesn't feature any form of demons coming after you in the dark, comes from the developers Free Range Games with their set game of Reckless. And this game automatically reminds me of a combination of not only Skate, but a little hint of the later Tony Hawk games. Maybe Project 8. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing Project 8 here. And Call of the Maestro said before I even ask, yes, you can customize your own skate park, but here's hoping you get a chance to customize your own skating moves as well too, so I can finally be able to pull off the Aerial McVarial 900. And according to Call of the Maestro, holding up the chart once again showing me how impossible that move is, I don't care. Here's hoping I get a chance to do it in that game. the next game that we have up, besides some possible tricks that I will make possible in the near future in one game that involves skateboards or BMX bikes, comes from the developers Paper Cult. Nice developer name, by the way, with their said game of Tears of Metal. Nice name for the game, too. And this game automatically reminds me of not only Lord of the Rings, but the little hint of Dungeon Siege and Diablo in there as well, too, if it wasn't from a topside camera. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get a chance to play with your friends, and according to Carl and the Maestro, yes you can, but also a chance for you to also, I guess, play as a mage? And according to Carl and the Maestro, it's in medieval times, so not too entirely sure if a mage is available. And they're looking up at the screen, and no, a mage is not available. Well, here's hoping you can get one. No, because you're gonna need it. Especially if you get an arrow in the knee or the thigh or even the shoulder, depending on how good the archers are. And the next game that we have up that hopefully doesn't involve some form of dragon that I forgot to mention that's gonna have you taken out in the next game, or the game we mentioned prior, and Carl and the Maestro put on a sign right now saying no dragons in that prior game. Okay, but just in case, the mage, like I said before. And now they're just telling me to go back to that next game we were going to mention, which comes from the developers Free Lives with their said game of Stick It to the Stickman. And this game automatically reminds me of, I guess, the Way of the Exploding Stick in 3D. Yeah, that's exactly what this reminds me of, with a little hint of Postal. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this set game that not only you get all of the crazy weapons that was featured in Postal in this game, but maybe, just maybe, the same fighting skills that you would have in the Way of the Exploding Stick for this game too, including a very impressive tiger knee that you could do to take people out in that game. Yeah, you could do a tiger knee. I mean, besides the windmill kick, there was that knee to the kick combination that you could pull off if you jump quick enough. See, you learned something today. And the last but not least game that we have up for this week comes from the developers Malapate Studios with their set game of Camper Van Make It Home. And this game automatically reminds me of, well, if the van was a little bit bigger, it reminds me of Ben 10, but it sort of reminds me of that one episode of Futurama where they decided to go to Ben Day, the event that Bender held. Now, here's hoping in the near future for this said van that not only you get a chance to upgrade this said van with different tires and different forms of, I guess, comfort that you can have for it, but maybe, just maybe, a chance for you to make it bigger too. And Carl and Maestro said, well, you can make a VW. Is that big enough? No, it's not. But at the same time, if you could put a kitchen inside of there, like he just showed me one of the screenshots, you should be able to make the rust bucket that was available in Ben 10. Hopefully. Because you're going to need a lot of space for that road trip. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still making their way from a planet far away from here, yet close enough to be beamed into your homes in less than 24 hours, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Free Game Planet page, only known as freegameplanet.com, and check out a whole bunch of weird, crazy, exciting, frightening, and somewhat strange games that are just out of this world. If you all also want to go ahead and check out any other cool games that are still coming through the Steam machine via the cargo ship, cargo plane, or even subterranean train that is currently rumbling underneath your toes, then you can go ahead and head on over to the store.steampower page, only known as store.steampower.com, and click ever so lightly on that upcoming button while clicking on that Indy button to go along with it as well, to check out a whole bunch of games that I got a feeling is going to be as big as a match at WrestleMania. And I don't know where Carl and Maestro got that miniature sign for WrestleMania from, but it's great to point at. Really is. And I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back into that music once again. And when we return, we'll be back with yet another new DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories right after this. So don't go away just yet, folks, or get lost in evening traffic or afternoon traffic just yet, and stay tuned. Alright, all you video gamers, welcome to yet another shock-rocking Tekno Heist edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with a title like that, we decided to go with the game none other than Payday 3, where Carl and the Maestro's calling this the Tekno Heist, so which means we need Tekno AXE for it. But I guess with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to lock and load and get ready to rock the cradle and get in there to get some cash or crypto as we get ready to paint the picture. Right? This video game story began approximately 2 months ago when me and King decided to do what we thought was impossible. A silent and sneaky version of the heist known as the Rocking the Cradle, where we would have to go into this techno nightclub place, get a couple of VIP cards, get past all the guards, and get the crypto wallet without getting spotted. Now, it's easier said than done, folks, because every single time me and King would try to do this, it would lead to a whole bunch of problems. And what do I mean by that? Well, the first time when we tried to do this, let's just say, when we had a couple of other people helping us along the way, they would immediately walk upstairs, get spotted by the cameras, game over, we lost the crypto wallet, but we got all the money that was out of the safes and vaults. But that wasn't good enough. I wanted to get that crypto wallet. So this night, when me and King got together, when I was Clover and he was the Wolf, and where we would even have Dallas and Chain as robot characters or, computer characters helping us out during the heist, we would decide, or I would decide, to go on a more hacker approach and a stealth approach than my usual approach of go in, shoot first, shoot last, shoot later, shoot again, and shoot a couple more times before asking questions. And the approach was going wonderful. King made his way upstairs. I was able to hack the cameras and make sure they were running on a loop so he can get past them. One of the guards almost spotted him, but I ended up hacking his radio, causing him to say, oh, what was that? What was that? And to just walk away. And King was able to get downstairs into the meat of the party itself, was able to actually take over the said computer board system, and was even able to get inside to get the crypto wallet. Now you think at that point that would be the end of the story. We won, yay, game over, but what would happen next? And once again, I apologize, King, for this, because as I would grab the bag with the crypto wallet to throw it in with the rest of the stuff we got, for those who don't know, the same button to throw the bag in would also be the same button for the grenade. You know where I'm going with this already, even though when I just said that, you know where I'm going. So when I tried to throw the bag in and the bag wouldn't go into the spot where it said to drop off the said merchandise, I would scream, "Hey, get in there, get in there, get in there," and would throw it in and at the same time throw the grenade at the same time and go, "Oh no, oh no." And the grenade would go off. All the people at the party would have exclamation points over their heads, and then that's when the problems started to happen. Because then we would then see a whole bunch of guards come swooping down the stairs, and one of the guards that King put away that I would take out to not get spotted, let's just say it led to a whole bunch of those other guards and SWAT officers, dozers, and bulkhead other soldiers to show up and try to take us out, and I wasn't equipped for it at all. I had none of my shotguns that I would usually use to take these guys out. Instead, I was left with a rifle because I was expecting this to be a quick, clean, and quiet job without me using weapons. But boy, was I wrong. But the rifle did its job and was able to headshot just about everybody in my path and made sure that none of them got in my face. And that was going great. Now you think at that point, the story's over. Game over. We won, right? We won. No, because it would get worse. Because as I would see a whole bunch of guards pouring out of that room, or officers, however you would call them, and shooting each and every single last one of them in the head as they were popping out of the office, one thing I forgot to mention during this story, King would decide to tie one of the said VIPs up and leave him off in a room on the side. You know where I'm going with this one. The guards would end up coming out of that room that King put the person in, and I thought there was more cops in there. So I would go in there, shoot those two guards that I mentioned before, and then shoot the person right in the head that King decided to put in the room, and I would go, "Oh no!" And King would ask me, "What happened? What happened?" And I would tell him, "Oh, nothing happened. Nothing happened. We're good. Just get out of here. Let's just get out of here." Because it was the final charge, and all of those guards were pouring down the stairs. We had enough problems as is. We got the crypto wallet. We got what we needed, so we just had to leave. Now, we got back upstairs with just about 12 bags instead of the maximum amount of bags that was featured for this, and would only be able to walk home with well over $410,000 minus the $20,000 for the civilian I shot in the face on the way out. And despite our failures, or my failures in this case, I would still be able to, with the help of King, be able to successfully, in quotations, be able to get the crypto wallet out of there. Yay! Yay! And was finally able to pull it off in the worst way known possible, according to Carl and the Maestro. Yeah, you could say that again. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for another shock-rocking techno heist edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with that, we'll be back with more right after this. So stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And about that video game story, once again, I apologize to King. And at the same time, there was a lot of bullets flying all over the place and craziness. And King, my bad. I apologize once again, because I got a feeling that's the last time I'm going to do that. And and Carl and the Maestro with a great point. Yeah, what we forgot to mention, pretty sure that would be the last time we would ever do that heist, because that would be the closest to perfection we could possibly get for it. So, not happening again in the near future. Hate to say it, but yeah, it's not gonna happen. Just not gonna happen. But besides that future heist that I got a feeling is gonna lead me into more trouble with people online, I think it's time for us to go into one of my favorite parts of the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the Indy for the weekend, which is me giving you guys local concert information from local artists performing in a local area live near you. And we kick things off with Friday, April 18th, and the first band we have up is R. Ruffus, who's going to be performing at the Hopewell Valley Vineyard in Pennington, New Jersey at 5 p.m. Oliver Degum is going to be performing at the White Horse Winery in Hemington, New Jersey at 5:30 p.m. Stu Hooten is going to be performing at the Simply Greek Restaurant and Bar in Long Branch, New Jersey at 6 p.m. The Mike Montree Band is going to be performing at the Mike Montree Solo at Tavern on George in New Brunswick, New Jersey, 7 p.m. Almost Autumn is going to be performing at the Mohawk Country Club in Lake Mohawk, New Jersey, at 7 p.m. Joe Pinto with the Burnt Leftovers, nice band names, is all going to be performing at the Lamplighter in Chester, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Lounge Act, along with Ice Cold Chili Peppers and Say It Ain't Scorcho, is all going to be performing at the Dingbats in Clifton, New Jersey at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Friday night, you can see the Tennessee Honey Band, who's going to be performing at the Tammy's Box Public House in Burlington Field, New Jersey at 9 p.m. And yes, caller to my show, I know it's Bergen Field, New Jersey. I just messed up at the fact that you guys were laughing over in the corner. Yeah, knock it off. But ballpark errors aside, folks, on Saturday, April 19th, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. Stu Hooten is going to be performing at the Coffee Corral in Red Bank, New Jersey at 10 a.m. Eldad Tamaru is going to be performing at the Cafe Marina at Union City, New Jersey at 11 a.m. or in Union City at 11 a.m. Anyway, next band we have up is Dave Fields, who's going to be performing at the Deltas in New Brunswick, New Jersey at 5 p.m. Vic Delapello is going to be performing at the Beach Tavern in Mammoth Beach, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Zaire is going to be performing at the Beneduce Vineyard in Pittstown, New Jersey at 6 p.m. Ziggy Isaacs is going to be performing at the Ramblewood Golf Club in Mount Laurel, New Jersey at 7 p.m. DJ JRS is going to be performing at the Latin Social in Carlstadt, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Andrew Moore is going to be performing at the Wonder Bar in Atlantic City, New Jersey at 8 p.m. Mike Garuncha with Sharp Edge is both going to be performing at the Hoover's Tavern in Mars Plains, New Jersey at 9 p.m. The Tennessee Honey Band is going to be performing at the Airport Pub in Sussex, New Jersey at 9 p.m. And to finally wrap things up and completely out of order according to Carl and the Maestro and their right, it's going to be none other than the Mike Montree Band, who's going to be performing at the Flounders Brewing in Hillsborough, New Jersey at 7 p.m. And on Sunday, April 20th, which is a certain holiday for some and a certain holiday for others, you can see these following bands performing in a local area near you live. And the first band we have up is Jim Sloan and Friends, who's going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 11:30 a.m. Alyssa JC is going to be performing at the City Winery in Nashville, Tennessee at 12 p.m. Talkbox is going to be performing at the Lemire Lounge in Denver, Colorado at 4 p.m. J-Side is going to be performing at the Seville Quarter in Pensacola, Florida at 4 p.m. Dawn and Hawks, nice band name, is going to be performing at the Grand Hall in New Braunfels, Texas at 5 p.m. Obscura with Atheist Origin, Deceptive Birth, and one other band yet to be announced is all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 5:30 p.m. Todd Allen Hendrine is going to be performing at the Todd Hendrine Theater in Panama City Beach, Florida at 6 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Easter Sunday, you can see Andy Revkin, who's going to be performing at the Town Crier Cafe in Beacon, New York at 6:30 p.m. And I'm getting poked in the shoulder by Carl in the Maestro saying we have two more bands to mention, which is going to be none other than 40 Ounce to Freedom, who's going to be performing at the Anton's Nightclub in Austin, Texas at 8 p.m. And finally, to wrap things up for Easter Sunday, you can see Solid Rift, who's going to be performing at the Luna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 8 p.m. And on Monday, April 21st, you can see these following bands performing in a local area live near you. Hector Guzman is going to be performing at the Luna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 5 p.m. Ick with Diet Riot and Without Empathy, nice band names, is all going to be performing at the NCOM Cyber Hall in Norman, Oklahoma at 6 p.m. The C4 Band is going to be performing at the Commodore Grill in Nashville, Tennessee at 6 p.m. Sky Covington Live is going to be performing at the Aretha's Jazz Cafe in Detroit, Michigan at 6 p.m. You can also see Visions of Atlantis with Hellsought. It's all going to be performing at the Brick by Brick in San Diego, California at 7 p.m. Zach Johnson is going to be performing at the Red Brick Tavern in Conroe, Texas at 7 p.m. The Duo Over is going to be performing at the Laguna Bob in South Padre Island, Texas at 8 p.m. And to finally wrap things up for Monday night and for all the bands we're going to mention for this week, you can see the Garage Boys, who's going to be performing at the Fremont Street Experience in Las Vegas, Nevada at 10 p.m. If you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast, and trust me folks, there were a lot of them, you can head on over to ReverbNation.com to check out the complete list of bands that we couldn't list during this very broadcast. And while you're over there, go ahead and check out a couple of their cool tunes. Trust me, worth the listen. Like we say at the end of all of these skits, go out there, support your local artists, and see these guys perform live. And trust me, they'll love you for it. I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music and continue to listen into these Diamonds in the Rough, only here, right here on Music Village. So don't get lost in that afternoon Good Friday traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. we're back with the afternoon show that can make your Good Friday just a little bit better than it already is, only known as Music Village. And according to Call of the Maestro, the fact that they were able to find a $100 bill on the ground during the break definitely proves my point on how lucky you can get on Good Friday. The streak continues. The streak continues. But besides a streak of luck that runs through many decades of actually being able to pull it off, including Easter egg hunts, I might as well include that too. I'm looking at my watch right now. Oh, it's just about that time. It's the witching hour, which means it's time for us to be brought up to speed with news stories from this week from, you guessed it, all around the world. And in our first news story, and an exciting news for you suicidal tendency fans out there, because for the first time in well over 7 years, they would finally be able to release a brand new song entitled Adrenaline Addict. And the fact that this song would not only feature none other than the son of the bassist from the band of Metallica featured during this, but also would feature none other than the Dillinger Escape Plan guitarist of Ben Weinman. Nice! Now, at the same time, and speaking of the Dillinger Escape Plan, since I haven't heard from them in years, I wonder if they're ever going to go back on the road and do some music too. And according to Call of the Maestro, maybe. Anything can happen. Oh, well, here's hoping. But if you guys want to go ahead and listen to the first song that they were able to release in well over 7 years, or even follow along on their North American tour that is a part of Metallica's M72 World Tour, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Suicidal Tendencies, or on over to the website known as consequence.net to check it out for yourselves. And as a little bit of a heads up, the tour will kick off as of April 19th in Syracuse, New York, and runs through June 29th in Denver. Not bad. Not bad. And in other news, and more or less news for you fans out there who always wanted to listen to the White Stripes live from 2005. And that rhymes a little bit. Well, I have some good news for you. Because this week, they've decided that they're going to be releasing a live album from the 2005 performance that took place in May 11th of 2005. Well over 20 years ago, with a 25-song set list that was featured in that said arena of the Auditorio Coca-Cola. And I got a feeling I butchered the daylights out of the name of it, but either way you look at it, any chance to hear the White Stripes live on an album, it's always pretty cool. And the songs that was featured during that said album would not only feature classics such hits as, and Carl and the Maestro said, yes, Seven Nation Army is on that list, but also other songs like I Fought Piranhas, Passive Manipulation, even The Dental Twist, and The Nurse, and Cannon. Not bad. Not bad. I wonder if Icky Thump is on that list. And apparently, according to Carl and the Maestro ciphering through it, no, it's not. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the full album set list that was featured for that said live album, or check out the cool stream featured for it as well too, then you can go ahead and head on over to the website known as consequence.net, or on over to the website known as nugs.net to check it out for yourselves. And in other news, and more or less news for you fans out there of 28 Days Later and wants more footage from it, well, I have some good news for you. because now they've released yet another trailer featured during this, and yeah, every single trailer they show for this film proves that things are getting worse and worse and worse as they go along with this 28 years later film. And not worse as in, oh, it's a bad movie, but worse as in, I got a feeling there's gonna be a lot of bad things that will happen during this said film. I really do. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the cool trailer for this said film for yourselves, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Sony Pictures Entertainment to check it out for yourselves. And in other news and more or less music metal cover news, for you fans out there who always wanted to hear a metal version of Britney Spears' Baby One More Time, well, the man with the metal mohawk would be able to oblige you for this week, because he would get on the guitar and several other instruments and pull off a metal version of the classic Britney Spears song of Hit Me Baby One More Time. Even though it's Baby One More Time, I think the full name is Hit Me Baby One More Time, or I could be wrong. And Carl into my show looking it up, and yes, I am. Now, here's hoping in the near future we can hear a metal version of the classic song Circus, because I got a feeling he could pull it off. I really do. And Carl into my show telling me I say that all the time, but I have hope in him, and I do believe he can pull it off. And if you guys want to go ahead and catch this metal version of a classic Britney Spears song go from pop to metal, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as OHP to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with all those regular news stories out of the way for this week, folks, you guys out there know what time it is. No Carl into my show. It's not time for us to get ready for an Easter egg hunt, but at the same time, I think that might be a good idea for some good hiding spots for those eggs. But it's time for us to go into a very special Good Friday edition of... And step back for this one. We gotta summon all the luck from within to get this one off the ground. Watch this. Video game See, I told you we're gonna need all the luck we can get for that one. I told you. In our first video game news story, and an exciting news for you New Legacy Inc. fans out there and simulation of pay-per-view fans out there as well too, because New Legacy Inc. would decide to get on the sticks and bring us a preview or a spoiler of what's gonna happen for both nights for this year's WrestleMania. And not even 25 seconds into this said simulation, let's just say shenanigans of the New Legacy Inc. variety would ensue during that said pay-per-view. And I can only imagine how crazy it would get beyond that, because I had tears in my eyes and belly laughing at the fact that, you know what, let's just go ahead and reveal it. Jey Uso was flying in the air and hovering while trying to do that whole celebration that he does with the fans. Which, by the way, for those who didn't know, that celebration that the fans does, I don't think they're supposed to arch their backs like that while doing it. Unless they're doing some form of exercise with the fans. I don't know. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the simulation of what could happen for this year's WrestleMania from the world of New Legacy Inc., then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of the big boys and girls themselves, only known as New Legacy Inc., to check it out for yourselves. And in other video game news and more or less news for you fans out there who were hoping for Spine to show up on the Switch 2. Well, I have some good news for you because it's been announced from the developers of Spine that, yep, Switch 2 is going to feature none other than Spine a part of it. Nice! Now, I for one am already fully anticipating this game coming out and can't wait to get my hands on it, especially seeing the fact that they showed off cool gameplay for that said game, including an also ultra difficult hardcore mode that will go with that game as well too. Now, at the same time, is there a way for me to upgrade the shotgun as a main weapon that I could use to take people out with? According to Call Into My Show with a shoulder shrug, they have no clue. But hopefully they can get one in time for this game to come out. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out when this game will release and further updates outside of the four square delights that we give you on a weekly basis for this game, then you can go ahead and head on over to the YouTube page of one man only known as Spine to check it out for yourselves. And as a bit of a heads up, this game will be available for all systems across the board in the near future in 2025. But with no release date just yet, but once it happens, we'll let you know. We will. And in other news of the video game variety and more or less news for more indie games. Because for you fans out there who thought the game Mouse PI for Hire was crazy enough as it was with all the crazy black and white violence that will take place during it, well, yeah, after the trailer they would show of the other weapons we forgot to mention during the Four Square Delight, it's only going to get worse in the most craziest ways known possible. Because not only they announced that there's gonna be a Mind D self-aware attitude changer weapons that will cause people's head to explode, but also a freeze gun that allows you to freeze an enemy in ice that you can shatter, and as well as an automatic turpentine cleanse chemical that can fire from a gun. So they just basically made a gun that fires dip. For you Who Framed Roger Rabbit fans out of there, you know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't know, go watch that film and then come back to this current moment in time and you'll get a laugh in your day. Trust me, you will. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out any of the other crazy weapons that were featured during this said game, then you can go ahead and head on over to the Game Informer page, only known as GameInformer.com, to check it out for yourselves. And in other video game news and more or less news from the world of Grand Theft Auto Online, because for those who are hoping for an Easter egg hunt to take place during this game, yeah, no Easter egg hunt this year, folks, but instead, we would see Lamar back at it again, just in enough time to celebrate 420. And not only a remix version of the Lamar hunting pack that was featured for this, but also you get a chance to dress in and according to Call Into My Show, while I'm sitting here laughing about it, the gold 420 pendant, the green 420 festival outfit, even the Yeti Earth Day hoodie that are all available for this week, even the Guffy rug hoodie that you can wear for this week to celebrate this weekend's festivities, is what we're gonna say. And also to help you celebrate this weekend's festivities and your pockets, you also get triple the amount of money for weed farm sale missions this week, as well as also getting double the production speed for weed in this said week. And also alongside with that, double the amount of money for the street dealers that are out on the streets. And also for you fans out there who always wanted to get a cool looking bike that can glow green like this weekend is, well, you can get the Nagasaki Shitaro 30% off for this week. And alongside with the Nagasaki Shitaro, you can also get the Shinobi 30% off. The T-Gon, 30% off. The Ignis, 30% off. The Reinhardt, a sedan vehicle that I thought was a weaponized vehicle, 30% off. The Ennis RE7Bs, 30% off. The Ennis S80RR, 30% off. The Classy Dragnor, the off-road vehicle, 30% off, alongside with motorcycle businesses as well, too, according to Carl and the Maestro. But before we wrap things up with the video game news, folks, we almost forgot to mention that for you fans out there who wants a Pegassi Osiris, all you have to do is place first on the podium for the LS Car Meet series for 3 days in a row, and you'll be able to win the said car. And on the podium means first, second, or third for that said race. And on the lucky wheel for this week, the Western Rampant Rocket, if you're able to win it from the spin. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the complete list of things that are still coming down the tubes from the world of Rockstar to celebrate this weekend's festivities, then you can go ahead and head on over to the socialclub.rockstargames page, only known as socialclub.rockstargames.com, under the Newswire section to check it out for yourselves. And I guess with that said, for this week, folks, you've all officially been brought up. And hold on a minute, folks. I gotta see if I can get in time with the beat. One sec. Right? Yeah, getting in time with the beat. My luck really is good today. Even getting in time with the lights that Carl and Maestro keeps turning off. But, enough of that. Because you've been brought up to speed. And I guess with that said, I think it's time for us to head back into that music one more time. And when we return, we'll be back with the final segment for Music Village for this week, right after this. So don't get lost in that Good Friday traffic just yet, folks, and stay tuned. Well, ladies and gentlemen, seeing the fact that the evening traffic is really starting to roll in, we're fresh out of music, and it's just about that time for us to head up the road before our luck truly runs out, we might as well bring Music Village for this week to an emphatic close. But don't worry, if you miss any of that afternoon delight we were able to give you for this week, we got you covered. Because you can catch this show again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, Instagram, and Tumblr pages, still all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag MusicVillage563. And according to Carl and the Maestro, for the 563rd time, with the $563 they found on the ground, make sure you check it out with the music that's featured on our Live 365 page known as Music Village Radio. One day I'll remember. One day. Just not today. And if you guys want to go ahead and check out the crazy and zany things we still got prepared for this month of Fools, like a constant reminder of the foolhardy things we are capable of in a foolhardy month filled with luck, then you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube, Discord, and Twitter pages, still all named the same, only known as the Double Agent 0012. Before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the fans out there for listening in to a very special Good Friday afternoon / evening edition of Music Village. And if you guys and gals out there like what you heard, go out there and spread the word. You know what? Like Ice Cube describing how good this day really is with a song. Yeah, you know the PR department knows where I'm going with this one, and they're surprised, wondering why I didn't mention the other thing we usually mention. Well, unfortunately, the synthesizer is broken, so I guess we're going with this. And they came prepared. They're dressed like Ice Cube right now. Nice. And we would also like to thank, speaking of musical artists, you, the independent artists out there, for doing that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and here's hoping your music gets featured during this show and able to turn people's luck around. And why? Because we believe in you guys. That's why. That's why. And speaking of musical artists that are able to turn your luck around within a second, and let's get that CVS receipt list up now. We would like to thank our musical guests, none other than Basement in My Loft with their song of Captial A Frame, Motorbike with their song of Gears Run Dry, Yuth Culture with Sell Out Business, The Lewis Express with The Last Man in the Chain Gang, Doc Burner with Keep It Up, and also Tekno AXE with their said song, A Broken Export, that was featured during this week's Technotronic Shock Rock Heist Edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And also, last but not least, but most importantly of all, we would like to thank Carl and the Maestro with the song you're listening to in the background right now of the Blue Collar Jam Session that's currently closing things out for this week's edition of Music Village. And like always, guys, keep up the great work, and we can't wait to hear what you got coming down the tubes next. And finally, last but not least, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for coming out with all those sweet video game hits and clips that we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And like always, guys, keep them coming, because you never know what show might be coming around the corner next. Hint, 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 hint. And I guess with everybody thanked, you guys out there, we go out. I'm DJ Smokey on behalf of Carl and the Maestro for this Good Friday for this year, saying, I guess today was a good day. But most importantly, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we'll see you guys next week for a very special, foolhardy month-ending edition of Music Village. But until then, have a happy Good Friday, have a great Easter, and good night, everybody.